when you start a project like this and see the mess that's in there, and how some people would look at that and say, tear it down. But when it's all said and done, and we walk in that theater on opening night, it will be very rewarding personally for me to see that.
Working together, a community can accomplish almost anything. The Kenosha Theater Restoration Project. Find out how you can help.
The Kenosha Theater is absolutely magnificent. I was totally thrilled, very pleasantly surprised. I love atmospheric theaters. A theater district makes a lot of sense. You just have to tailor it to the community. And you got to remember that one of the biggest problems in entertainment is product, not audience. So you really need to focus on what is doable, and you want to create a synergism. The more activity you have, the more activity you have, the more activity you'll have. And you really want to bring some life back to your downtown. I think what's really important is that the plan, the renovation plan, be tailored to your community. And what I see in Kenosha is a much more active participation from the people that actually live in Kenosha. You have a great school system. I think there's a real opportunity to create a true community center. You need to have world-class performances there. But as a community center, I'm talking about volunteer stagehands, volunteer production people, volunteer ushers, and as we're taking it to the next level, don't try to be a loop theater, but be a community facility where you train young people to be stagehands, to be technical directors, to train them in the lighting and the sound equipment, but you'll be doing national acts.
There wouldn't have been any Playhouse Square without Ray Shepardson. There wouldn't have been any theaters without Ray Shepardson.
In 1970, Ray worked for the Board of Education seeking out meeting spots for teachers when he happened upon 3 theaters, all closed, neglected, and vandalized, but all still holding the spirit of grander times.
It was like a discovery, and I thought I just had to point it out, and then people would just automatically want to save them.
But it really wasn't quite that easy. He did gather a fistful of concerned Clevelanders to form the Playhouse Square Association. And he did convince hundreds of volunteers to help spruce up the dingy theater. But support and funding for the project were still lacking.
People didn't think it was possible. They didn't think it could work.
Then the bombshell hit. In May of 1972, the owners of the Lowe's State in Ohio decided to tear down the building for a parking lot.
I was locked out of the buildings. I was sneaking around, illegally entering the buildings, fixing the roof while they were doing demolition studies. It was that close. It really was that close.
A snag in the owner's parking lot design allowed just enough time to get the word out.
The main thing was the banner headline. That got the Junior League involved, and they came up with cash. They came up with $25,000 cash, and the building owners gave us the buildings on a lease.
Charged with victory, the Playhouse Square Association spent the next few years proving that Clevelanders would return downtown for entertainment, even if it meant giving away tickets for free.
If you give somebody something for free and show them how appealing a place is, they'll come back.
By the end of 1977, the curtain almost fell over Playhouse Square again. The 5-year lease on the Lowe's was up, but this time the county commissioners stepped in and bought the building.
The act of the county buying them, that was when I finally knew they were saved.
Shortly afterward, Ray Shepardson moved on, lending his knack for renovation and love for the old movie palaces to other theaters like this one, the fabulous Fox in St. Louis.
This is the Fox Theater in St. Louis, where audiences are welcoming the Oak Ridge Boys, ladies and gentlemen. Hey!
We're here in a brand new home this week where country comes home in St. Louis. This is an old theater that years ago was used for vaudeville. Recently, the Fox has been through a complete restoration. Over $4 million has been spent here to restore it to its natural condition. In fact, it's so beautiful, it's almost breathtaking.
We're doing a complete restoration of the Fox Theater. Probably the most complete renovation being done in the United States. We're able to preserve almost 80% of the original finishes, so this place won't look like 1928 when it opens. It will be 1928. The project is going to take about 200,000 man-hours, and involve 250 to 300 different craftsmen. The Fox Theater is the largest remaining movie palace in the world, and without question the most fabulous. It's the most heavily ornamented theater ever built. There's no such thing as direct light in the Fox Theater. Everything's very, very mysterious. All light is seen through shadows, through stained glass, and as the lighting changes with the use of the building, you see different things. So it's always a new fantasy. Movie palaces were such an important part of the urban mix. They gave the cities the extended life. It created nightlife. It allowed restaurants to thrive. It allowed nightclubs to survive. The parking garages were used. The cities were not used for just 8 hours. They were used for almost 16 hours. And that was the vitality the movie palaces gave the cities originally. And that's exactly what happens when they're restored and reopened now. They bring back vitality to areas that hadn't seen nightlife in decades. The exciting thing about the restoration of the movie palaces is that it introduces a new generation to the excitement and the wonder that was our grandparents and our parents.
Hello, hello, Detroit. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the beginning, I think, of a new era for downtown Detroit. This has been a very big project and a very challenging project for everyone. They don't get any bigger than this and they don't get any more complicated than this, but it doesn't get any more fun either.
We put together a package with the immense cooperation of representatives from the city of Chicago. Elizabeth Hollander, the Commissioner of Planning, and Lucille Dobbins, her deputy, and others. And in conjunction, and in a very interesting example of public-private cooperation, we devised a very sophisticated way in which to put together the $26 million that was needed to first buy the property and then to renovate it.
Work on the restoration of the Chicago Theater requires special skills and dedication.
O'Neill Construction, I think, has done a heroic job. Large construction companies are notoriously awful at these kinds of jobs because they're so personal and so specific. Having never done a theater, I think the sensitivity with which they selected their subs was sensational. And the quality of craftsmanship, they went all out getting the best carpenters, the best carpet layers, the best electricians, the best painters.
The Chicago Theater has been renovated. The work is done. It took about $9 million and 9 months of very dedicated work to bring back a Chicago legend. This sparkling new old theater has been restored to its 1920s splendor and is about to start a new and exciting chapter in its life. Photographers, TV crews, and a big crowd of excited Chicagoans are waiting for the mayor to officially open the theater.
The Chicago Theater, once presumed to be dead, is alive and well.
And the cutting of the ribbon.
1, 2, 3.
The mayor's way.
1, 2. I know what to do.
The theater refused to die, refused to be forgotten, because for so many people, this grand old star has become a part of their lives. And does the new renovated theater look like what they expected?
The restoration is just absolutely beautiful. A lot of attention has been paid to the detail, and I think that it's beautifully done.
Now to see it restored to its former beauty makes me feel real good.
Well, the people have come here not just to admire the reborn theater, but also to see the show. Just like over 4 decades ago on this very stage, Frank Sinatra creates his magic world and the audience immerses in it.
These are temples. Why tear them down, these beautiful theaters? Why not restore them? Mr. Shepardson has gone around the country and, well, you refurbished how many theaters now? Starting in Cleveland, quite a few of them. the 30 of them. And down in Texas, he went all through Texas. Texas is great down there, you know. Miles and miles of nothing but miles and miles, you know.
And whereas located in the heart of downtown San Antonio, the Majestic Theater has become the cornerstone of the new Cultural Arts District, which will be a decisive economic catalyst for the downtown area, stimulating growth and development for the entire city.
The people in Dallas just opened a new concert hall. Depending on who you talk to, it was either an 82 or a $100 million plus project. That project's been in the works for 10 years. They've been working to create that project for 10 years. It's been under construction for many years. They've known for a long time that this building is going to come online. We've done all of that in San Antonio, really in less than a year almost, certainly a year and a half. Ray has continued to be the man in the middle, if you will, the man whose only goal is to make sure that the building works, that the building is visually spectacular, that the technical aspects of the building that have to be there for the performer, in fact, are there on opening night. Certainly, there are projects like this, when they're successful, have many mothers and many fathers. I can think of very few people who would be more important on that list than Ray Shepardson. Without Ray, I can't imagine this building opening on time, let alone looking the way that it does today.
Ray set the pace, and he set the tone. And Ray starts with the premise that the longer it takes to do a project, the more money it's going to take, and then that multiplies. Then the longer, and then more money, and then longer and more money. We could have accomplished this in a year and a half instead of 10 months, and I'm convinced that it would have cost $2 or $3 million more than it did. Ray's you have to be. It takes a special kind of person that can work at the pace that Ray works. He sets a very furious pace, and he's done it. He does it purposely, and he does it because it has worked so successfully for him in a number of projects in the past.
I'd love to see Ray be able to continue his work, because it's a never-ending possibility, and personally, I think that he's the guy to do it. He's got a great track record, and I think we should give him a shot at anything he wants to tackle.
The theater itself is absolutely magnificent. It's, you know, it's amazing. I just got back from Europe, and I see all the Americans running from one wonderful edifice to another. And then I get back home, and I rarely see this kind of restoration and this care taken in our own country. And it's so important, because this is a part of our history, a big part of our history. Very high profile, and Ray Shepardson is the one who always comes through. He has wonderful taste. He has the dedication that can make it happen, and I'm a big fan of his.
Magic moment in time. Just magic.
The look is just part of it. It's so magnificent having such beautiful acoustics and then have such a gorgeous structure and such a beautiful job of the restoration. It is outstanding. We couldn't ask for more. And we're not finished yet.
The next step is doing the same for the Empire Theater. We're moving right on into the Empire Theater to restore that one as well. But I really can't let this evening go by without saying that it's Ray Shepardson and his team who have been able to do this for us, because we have been able to do for $4 million better than what Dallas could do for $82 million.
Past the scaffolding and see the exotic splendor of the palace. Elegant statues, elaborate designs, outrageous colors.
And we recreated the original color scheme, and that's an American treasure. and few people would really do that. Most architects would be afraid of these absolutely stunning colors.
If you thought the glamorous mood of the 20s at the State Theater on Hennepin Avenue was lost forever, you might want to take a new look. What had been earmarked for demolition at one time is now glistening in grandeur.
How are they labeled? House left and house right, or stage left and stage right?
Theater restoration specialist Ray Shepardson convinced the city this theater was worth saving. His infatuation with movie palaces began 20 years ago when he saved a Cleveland theater from the wrecking ball. But perhaps his biggest accomplishment is the restoration of the 5,000-seat Fox Theater in Detroit, the largest remaining movie palace in the world.
It was definitely the high point, but I'm feeling pretty good today. You know, this is quite a place.
Shepardson even donated these 3 chandeliers to the city. Valued at $75,000 apiece, they hang in the mezzanine at the State Theater.
I was so pleased with the city. I mean, it's such a progressive city that saved the building, and I thought it was a really, they're perfect for in here.
Ray Shepardson used to produce variety shows in the 70s and 80s with big-name entertainers such as Frank Sinatra and Liza Minnelli. In fact, he produced 5 of Cleveland's 7 longest-running shows. But he proved a point. Theaters like this can really pack them in.
They work everywhere. There's hundreds of these places that have been restored across the United States, and they all work. You know, they all have varying degrees of success, but the community is always better off for having restored a theater.
Shepardson has just formed the American Variety Arts Foundation, which he hopes will bring the arts back into the mainstream with more frequency and affordability. No, the good old days aren't gone. They're making a strong comeback. Art Barron, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
It's one of the better-kept secrets in our town, but quietly, out of the spotlight for the past 4 or 5 years, a band of artisans and craftspeople have been, well, breathing new life back into some of the city's oldest theaters. Millions of dollars later now, the dreams are taking shape. The Gem Theater, for instance, will open before this year closes. The State is already going and under renovation. Ray Shepardson, who directed efforts at the Fox Theater renovation, is the director of this restoration effort. Call him, if you will, the doctor of the dream.
We need to fill in with the Adams, the Madison, and the United Artists, and you'll have about 18,000 theater seats and 8 magnificent theaters in the largest restored theater district anywhere in the world.
No other city in America has such a treasure of entertainment houses, though they may be dark, but Ray believes the old stages will ultimately be the major players in Detroit's comeback.
We found in Cleveland, when I founded that project, that people wouldn't come downtown until there was something to do. And you give them something to do, and they're here.
Because of Ray's extensive experience, he was able to show the board how the project could become a reality for several $1 million less than earlier estimated. Ray brought with him a long list of artisans, specialty painters, plasterers, riggers, and experts in chandelier restoration who would help bring the Francis Orpheum Theater back to life.
What brought me here is one of the most magnificent movie palaces remaining in America, surprisingly enough. The theater was originally designed by the architectural firm of Rapp & Rapp out of Chicago, and amazingly enough, it's one of their finer buildings. So it was the quality of the building. At my age, I don't mess with buildings I don't love, and I absolutely adore this place.
In the summer of '99, the fundraising kicked into high gear when the state of Iowa made grant money available for community attractions and tourism projects. That grant, matching city funds, and a gift from the Sioux City Symphony's DeHaan Foundation totaled $3 million. On March 17, 2000, a press conference was held in the Orpheum Theater to kick off the public campaign and to announce that the Kind World Foundation and the Waite Family Foundation had each pledged $1 million toward the restoration efforts and $1 million toward an endowment. The dream of restoring the Orpheum Theater to its original style and beauty began to come true.
The wonderful thing about these projects is that you get so much for your money. The building is already here, we just have to bring it back to life. And I like to sort of preserve, whenever possible, the original finishes. It keeps the ghosts happier. A lot of the original fixtures are still here, which is kind of neat. We're in the process of carefully planning how we're going to structure and phase the renovation of the building. It's not only a worthwhile kind of project, but it's really a great value. It's like a real bargain. In this day and age, bargains are few and far between.
He's artistic. He knows theater. He knows theater restoration. He knows a lot of people in the business. And he's been extremely helpful to this project.
It's really fun is when you scaffold the building so you can go up and I like to do a stairway to the top so you can take people that have contributed to the restoration and let them see up close a ceiling that's there for only a short period of time, then the scaffolding comes down and that room goes completely away, so it's kind of magical.
In January 2001, a 70-foot scaffold was erected. A platform was built 15 feet from the top to allow painters and plasterers access to the dome, auditorium ceiling, and the proscenium arch. The scaffolding and platform remained in place until the end of May, and hundreds of fortunate people witnessed the painstaking plaster reconstruction and painting up close. September 15th, 2001. The end of the most horrific week most of us will ever experience, and a bittersweet moment to celebrate in Sioux City. After much discussion, the decision was made to go ahead with the rededication as planned. The restoration was complete, and the Orpheum Theater was rededicated in a patriotic program that was a fitting salute to the dedication of individuals, indeed a whole town, who rallied to the support of the project. It was a moving evening, filled with performances by Iowa Governor Tom Vilsack, the Sioux City Symphony, and local college and community choirs.
The size of the venue is going to allow us to bring people in that we couldn't bring in otherwise. B.B. King being a prime example. You're not going to have B.B. King play at the auditorium. It's going to be half empty, but in the Orpheum it's going to be a phenomenal show.
Indeed it was. The sounds of laughter, applause, singing, and performance have returned to the Orpheum. It is once again a place for entertainment. In the first 4 months, over 50,000 people have attended one or more performances, including Bill Cosby, Willie Nelson, and B.B. King, and the Broadway series with the performances of Footloose, Cabaret, and My Fair Lady. In fact, there was over $1 million in ticket sales in the first 3 months. As intended, the roster of events has included performances by local high school and church choirs and dance studios. The theater must be for the people and be accessible to those who want a place to celebrate performance. Truly something for everyone, the Orpheum Theater Film Project has shown classic movies like Gone with the Wind, Star Wars, and The Wizard of Oz to give families an opportunity to experience the theater itself while enjoying a classic on the big screen. Anyone who walks into the Orpheum feels transported in time, back to a time when people dressed up for an evening out and came early to meet friends and enjoy the ambiance. Thanks to the efforts of an entire community, Sioux City residents and visitors will be able to experience the grandeur of an age gone by. The Orpheum, at last returned to its former glory, lives on.
The orchestra pit was only about 2 feet deep, so we excavated down to the basement level, blew out the back wall, and now the former basement of the stage is now all orchestra pit. You want to tie in with the public schools as well as higher education. And the younger you start them, the better. I mean, you want to start at grade school and work right through college. So you really have, and not only tie in with your programming, but what you put on stage, and then the behind the scenes. So you have a combination of professional, amateur, and it's a really nice synergism that you can get going. And we try to do that whenever we can. The more people that are viscerally involved in what you're doing, the better. But you need to look at it, you need to get a groundswell. And it's very popular. I mean, no one's going to be against saving and restoring the buildings. It's a very, very popular. I mean, hundreds of them have been restored across the country, and everybody loves a wonderful movie palace. You just got to figure out the best approach, so when you're done, you've really made a significant contribution to your community.